YNR spoilers reveal that the dramatic battle is just beginning. Diane Jenkins is playing a dangerous game. In secret, she is constantly trying to approach Michael Baldwin, one of Victor Newman's strategic partners, whom Diane has vowed to destroy. Michael is Victor's right-hand man, known for his sharp legal skills and ability to manipulate situations quietly. However, Diane is planning closely and is strategizing to put Michael in a difficult position, from which she can manipulate him and make him follow her orders. Diane's every move has a clear purpose: to destroy Victor Newman and drag Michael into a quagmire of his own secrets. Meanwhile, Victor is continuing his tricks to protect the Newman family and put the Abbott family in a dangerous situation. After discovering the existence of a spy at Jabot, Jack Abbott and Kyle Abbott immediately take action to protect their family company. But what they don't know is that this spy is part of Victor's plan to undermine Jabot and the Abbott family from within. In a bold move, Victor not only confronts the Abbott family but also decides to use his strength and determination to gain the upper hand, making everyone wary. However, an unexpected obstacle appears. Nikki Newman, in the role of peacekeeper, begins to intervene in the family tensions. Nikki, with her charisma and influence, constantly convinces Victor and Jack that they need to settle their differences instead of letting them go too far. She doesn't want the Abbott and Newman family wars to continue to affect their careers and relationships. Nikki knows that the clash between the two families will cause great damage not only to themselves but also to the entire company. And so, a plan of protection was formed, with the cooperation of both Jack and Diane. Diane, unwilling to let things go as they were, began to find ways to put Michael in an even more awkward position than before. She knew that Michael had always been loyal to Victor, but she also knew that sometimes, friendship could be taken advantage of. Diane not only wanted Michael to feel pressured, but also wanted him to choose between his loyalty to Victor and their long-standing friendship. She knew that Michael had always sought peace in his work and family, but now she wanted him to face a painful truth: could he continue to follow Victor's instructions, especially those that might violate the law, or would he have to stand up for himself and what was right? As Diane quietly prepared each step, Michael began to feel anxious. Long sleepless nights are tormenting him, and questions about what he is doing for Victor are keeping him from relaxing. His wife, Lauren, is the only person he can share this worry with, and it is she who warns him that he may be on a dangerous path, where every decision could drag him down. Lauren also realizes that, no matter how tough Michael is, his involvement in covert actions and illegal activities has become a burden for him. The big question facing Michael is whether he can continue to serve Victor, or will he choose to retreat and find the right path again. But the temptation of Victor's power and influence is always there, making it difficult for Michael to give up. Faced with threats from Diane and the Abbott family, will Michael choose to stay loyal to Victor or will he make an unexpected turn? And will Diane succeed in drawing Michael into her plan? These events will continue to push things to a climax, forcing not only Michael but also the Newman and Abbott families to face life-or-death decisions that will change the course of the war between the forces in Genoa City. Meanwhile, Victor remains steadfast, continuing to protect his family, not allowing outside enemies to threaten his empire. Will Diane's plan be able to work, or will Michael finally find a way to escape this dangerous relationship, along with the protection of his longtime friend? The story of loyalty, power, and intrigue in The Young and the Restless is sure to continue with tension and drama, as each character faces choices that will change their fate forever. The Young and the Restless is entering a tense and complicated period when Michael Baldwin, Victor Newman's right-hand man, is drawn into a dangerous game that Diane Jenkins is running from the shadows. This situation is not only a battle between rivals, but also a psychological confrontation between longtime friends, forcing Michael to face choices from which there is no turning back. Diane Jenkins. The talented psychological player Diane has always been a dangerous character, not only because of her cunning and ability to draw others into her schemes, but also because of her ability to manipulate her opponents. Diane's goal has not changed: to defeat Victor Newman and take control, but to achieve this, she needs to manipulate Michael, who has a long-standing relationship with Victor. Diane knows that Michael is the only one who can change the course of this war, and she does not hesitate to use any means to force him to choose between loyalty to Victor and protecting himself. She begins by sending a letter to Michael's wife, Lauren, informing her of Michael's deteriorating condition. Diane reveals that Michael is at risk of being caught up in the law, as his shady actions may be linked to Victor's poor decisions, especially in his plot to kill Kyle Abbott. Through Lauren, Diane hopes to make Michael feel insecure and uncertain. The bond between Michael and Lauren is tested by the secrets Diane is deliberately leaking. Diane knows that if she can make Lauren worry about Michael's future, she will make him feel lonely and vulnerable to her plans. And so, Diane would be able to control Michael, manipulate his psychology, to make him ready to betray Victor when the storm of intrigues began to gather. Victor, suspicion and surveillance strategy. However, for someone as observant as Victor, Michael's change in behavior could not escape his eyes. Victor always knew that any sign of abnormality from Michael would be a warning, and it was this change that aroused Victor's deep suspicion. Michael's ambiguous calls and dishonest actions when reporting situations related to the Abbott family made Victor suspect that something was wrong. Victor knew that Michael would never betray him easily, but the fact that he began to show signs of disloyalty made Victor unable to ignore it. Therefore, Victor decided to act cautiously. He hires a detective to follow Michael, hoping to uncover important details that could expose the shady connection between Michael and Diane. And, like a predatory wolf, Victor will not stop until Diane's schemes are foiled. Meanwhile, Jack Abbott is making his own moves. Michael's shady actions, if discovered, could damage the relationships the Abbott family has built. So Jack will do everything in his power to protect the family's secrets, but can he stand up to Victor's power when things start to unravel? Michael Baldwin, a man who has always considered justice and loyalty as the guiding principles in life, now faces an uneasy inner conflict. He used to be Victor's right-hand man, and all his decisions were built on a foundation of loyalty and duty. However, when Diane begins to use her words of bribery, targeting Michael's anxiety and fear, he cannot help but think about the path he is on. Diane not only stirs up Michael's anxiety about the consequences of his past actions, but she also puts him in a position where he must choose between continuing to follow Victor's orders or standing up for himself, even if it means betraying his former boss. Diane begins to criticize Michael for not informing her of Victor's moves, making him feel guilty and as if he has made a huge mistake. She constantly creates signs of uncertainty and makes Michael wonder if he can continue down this path. The long sleepless nights Michael experiences leave him uncertain about what he is doing. Lauren, his wife, whom he has always trusted, also notices these changes and begins to worry. She repeatedly advises Michael to stop and look at things more clearly. However, being drawn into a vicious cycle between Victor and Diane leaves Michael torn between his loyalty to Victor and his desire to protect his family. Will Michael continue to follow Victor's orders and join in his nefarious schemes, or will he choose to stand up and give it all up? The decisions Michael makes will not only affect his personal life, but may also change the course of the war between the Newman and Abbott families. With Diane's manipulation, Victor will not be able to forgive betrayal easily if Michael really turns his back on him. But if Michael continues to endure and follow Victor's orders, he will pay the price for his illegal decisions. The big question now is, can Michael find a way out of this dangerous relationship, or will he be sucked into a quagmire from which he cannot escape? As each step becomes more dangerous, the battle between Diane, Michael, Victor, and the Abbott family will become more than just a power struggle, but also a choice of people caught in a storm of secrets, loyalties, and betrayals. The story of Diane Jenkins and Michael Baldwin is gradually unfolding a psychological war full of tension and drama. Diane, who has always been known for her calculation and cunning, is trying to manipulate Michael in every way to carry out her plan to destroy Victor Newman. However, to achieve this goal, Diane not only needs to make Michael choose but also manipulate his psychology, turning him into a pawn in the power game between her and Victor. Diane, the subtle manipulator. Diane knows that Michael is one of the most important figures in Victor's life. As Victor's right-hand man, Michael has always played an important role in the Newman family's business and legal strategies. However, Diane is not shaken by the long-standing relationship between Michael and Victor. She knows that, to take down Victor, she needs to eliminate the people around him, and Michael is her next target. With a sharp plan and great patience, Diane has begun to approach Michael. She doesn't rush things, but instead quietly plants doubts in Michael's mind about Victor's decisions. Diane begins to make Michael feel insecure and wonder if he is really on the right track by continuing to follow Victor's shady instructions. She knows that if she can make Michael doubt his loyalty to Victor, she can drag him into her scheme. Michael, a longtime friend, is pushed into a difficult position. Michael Baldwin, who has always been Victor's loyal and right-hand man, is now faced with strange feelings and doubts. The ambiguous phone calls, the lack of transparency in the work he does, all begin to make Victor feel uneasy. For someone like Victor, with his sharp intuition and ability to recognize abnormalities, Michael's actions cannot escape his eyes. In his increasingly opaque conversations with Victor, Michael begins to show signs of disloyalty. These calls, along with his failure to report them to Victor, seem to be signs of a relationship that is no longer pure. Victor cannot ignore this. Victor's suspicions deepen as he notices changes in Michael's behavior. This prompts Victor to hire a private investigator to follow Michael. He wants to know exactly what Michael is doing, and whether these actions are related to Diane, whom Victor has always suspected of having bad intentions. As Michael continues to be drawn into a spiral of ambiguous calls and unclear words, Victor becomes more and more suspicious of the true intentions of the person he once considered his friend and right-hand man. Diane and the psychological warfare. As a talented strategist, Diane not only tries to draw Michael into her plans, but also knows how to manipulate him psychologically. Diane not only played mind games with Michael, but also cleverly used Michael's wife, Lauren, to make him feel pressured and sleepless. Diane understood that Lauren was an indispensable part of Michael's life, and Lauren's anxiety would make him feel uncomfortable, even making the conflicts in his mind more obvious. She sent a letter to Lauren, informing her about Michael's condition. In the letter, Diane revealed that Michael might be in trouble with the law because of his shady actions at work. Furthermore, Diane hinted that Michael might be drawn into a dangerous war, in which Victor was plotting to destroy Kyle Abbott. These words not only worried Lauren, but also made Michael wonder if he was really doing the right thing. Diane's criticism of Michael not telling her in advance made him feel even more guilty. Diane knew that by making Michael feel guilty, she could easily take over his heart and mind. Michael's sleepless nights, as Lauren had told Nikki, were the result of his internal conflict. The worries about work and the things Diane was stirring in his mind were keeping Michael from finding peace. He felt stressed, and every decision he made seemed to only complicate things. Michael is now faced with two paths, and each choice carries risks and unpredictable consequences. Will he continue to follow the path that Victor has laid out, participating in shady and possibly illegal schemes, or will he give it all up and stand up for himself and his family? Diane has created a dilemma for Michael. She not only uses charm and sweet words, but also takes advantage of Michael's long-standing friendship with Victor to make him feel torn. Diane's criticism and psychological manipulation not only cause chaos in Michael's life, but also make him feel insecure about his relationship with Victor. Can he overcome these difficulties and find the truth, or will he be drawn into a spiral of deception and betrayal? The fight continues. The story will continue to develop as Michael faces inevitable decisions. Diane is quietly controlling the game, and Victor is not going to be easy to defeat. They both know that if they can manipulate Michael, they will be able to control the situation. However, Michael can still find a way out of this cycle. Can he stay loyal to Victor, or will there be a sudden turn that will make everything Diane has worked for go up in smoke? The story of Michael, Diane, and Victor will continue to be a tense battle, not only between power and betrayal, but also the internal struggle of a man caught between two worlds, between friendship and loyalty, between doing the right thing and protecting his family.